Ladies and gentlemen, to honor America, please stand for our national anthem. The horses are now nearing the starting gate. And they're off. As the field comes into the stretch. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Aqueduct. Mostly sunny skies on this Thursday. The temperature will be in the mid-40s later on today. The main track is fast. The turf courses are firm. The portable rail is up at 24 feet on the outer turf and at 18 feet on the inner. We have an Empire 6 jackpot carryover of more than $142,000. Right now, we'll take a look at today's changes, and there are no changes to report in the first race. Second race, scratch the 11 Bastet, scratch number 11. In the third race, scratch the also eligibles. 11 Data Analytics through the 16 Manny Petty. Scratch 11 through 16 out of race 3. No changes in the fourth. Race 5 starts the Empire 6. We have these scratches, scratch 6, hold the Irish, and scratch the also eligibles, 11 Arrow Heart through the 16 Bohemian Ruby. Scratch 6 and 11 through 16. In the sixth race, scratch the also eligibles, 13 Nebo through 16 Quiet Type. Scratch 13 through 16 out of race 6. No changes in the seventh race. In the eighth race, which begins the cross-country pick 5, scratch 4, Sky Kitten, 14, Fun Finder, 15, Invaluable, and 16, Customer Experience. Scratch 4, 14, 15, and 16. Ninth race, scratch the 11, Fair Catch, and the 12, Yes and Yes. Scratch 11 and 12. And no changes in today's 10th and final race. Fast and firm, Empire 6 jackpot carryover, $142,138. We'll be back at 11:20 to recap the changes. Today's first race post is at 11:50. Up next, the Thursday edition of Talking Horses with Andy Serling and Anthony Stabile.
morning, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses as we start off week number 3 here at the Big A. He is Anthony Stabile. I'm Andy Serling. Good card today, excellent racing, and, you know, as we talked about quite a bit, except for the fact that it poured on last Thursday and Friday, the racing has just been super here at Aqueduct, and I know through the card this Saturday, it's been drawn tomorrow, Saturday. It really is delivering in a big way.
Fun cards. I think this is the one that probably surprises you the most, just for the simple fact that it's Thursday.
Right.
Now, we don't expect this.
Thursday is one of our week handle races days of the week, and people have jobs, people have lives.
This card
Unlike Anthony and I, there are people out there that have lives.
They actually have real jobs and lives.
I've heard about that.
We have, I was there for like 9 months. It's a terrible place.
Harrowing just thinking about it. It really is.
Yeah, it is a fun card. Looking forward to getting into it and playing a little bit today. I think I have a couple of cuckoos today. Okay,
we'll head on over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, we'll match up to $200 your initial deposit. If you use the promo code MATCH, 200, NairaBets.com. Support the industry. Play through Naira Bets.
Add Firenze Fire to the list of those coming after Performer on the Cigar Mile.
Well, I heard that. I had trouble sleeping here tonight. The Cross Country Pick 5 every day. We're racing here at Aqueduct and Churchill Downs. That will be the 4 days this week and 3 days next week, as we are not in action until next Friday. Aqueduct Race 8, you can see it all right there. Free PPs, Naira.com/cross country. Been great value in that play so far. Take a look at that sequence, races 8 and 9 here at the Big A. We'll be talking about in a few minutes. The Aqueduct Saturday contest. These contests, we've been doing them pretty much since we started, and they're popular. They're great. Great opportunities, good way to play. All cash prizes. Pit yourself against other players, but it's live money, so even if you don't get a cash prize, you still retain any money you play, so it's really like playing the races. Get involved. Go to Naira.com/challenge. You must be a member of Naira Bets to play. Yet another reason to be a member of Naira Bets. Race number 1. We'll go to the replay in race number 1 of the heavy favorite, Economic Policy. And I don't know about you, Anthony, but I really wanted to play against this horse. I don't like the field he beat. I know the horse who ran 4th came back and won sort of not a very strong race here on Sunday. And the reality is that I just couldn't come up with an alternative. And if I could have, boy, I would love to bet somebody against this horse. I was trying to make local counsel, but his form had left him, and he's off a layoff. I couldn't make a strong enough case for anybody. I don't want to take a short price, but I didn't want to bet against.
Yeah, I couldn't. I
won't be shocked if he loses. I just won't be shocked if this horse loses. But I don't know who he's going to lose to.
Right,
That's
who's going to do it? I came very close to just riding the Rudy wave from the rail with King of Ranch, who's never run on the dirt, but I would imagine is going to be forwardly placed, if not on the lead today. Thought about maybe just trying to bottom out Economic Policy, but truth be told, he's going to have to run on the dirt. And this horse now, Economic Policy, has come back with back-to-back races at the lower level ranks that have, at the very least, been consistent enough that if one of those 2 races shows up, he's going to win here today.
Yeah, I thought a possible edge would be if people went towards King of Ranch, who not only has no pedigree for dirt, can't even run on the turf anymore, which is preferred surface. So I really thought that if you were trying to, if in fact they went for that horse, King of Ranch, and made him the second choice, that was the potential edge in the race. We'll see if local counsel can get his act together, but I can't try to bet against Economic Policy in here. Race number 2. Race number 2 is sort of a funny race, and I wanted to show a replay of the 2T in China. You picked 2nd, I picked 4th, because it says crowded start. Now, I don't really think this horse had much trouble in this race. I think it's a little bit of a dubious comment. And the reality is, she actually ran well enough to maybe have a chance here. It's a sort of odd, restricted state-bred stake that she ran in. She didn't run that badly, though. I just don't know what to say. It is the only time she ever sprinted the turf, so I won't be shocked if she runs better here. Just get IRAD.
And the only 3 times she's even registered any kind of speed figure that resembles a real race were the 3 turf races. The debut, which was long.
Well, that's the nature of turf racing, though. I think you're drawing into the nature of turf racing more than anything else. Well, a 37 in the turf is a 10 in the dirt.
Right. No,
I mean, it's
right. But the other 2 races, at the very least, she lifted her legs on the dirt, on the turf, and her best race, I think, like you probably, by far, was the turf sprint. So,
what do you like about Canarsie Gold?
So I want to take a little shot at. I'm not.
Is there a tip on this horse?
There's not. Okay. I don't know
You're
why.
Sure?
Every time you think I pick a 15-to-1 shot, there's a tip on the horse.
Because there are.
So Bruce Brown's horses have been running well. for the better part of the last 3 months.
Well, his
since we
only
got
win at
back
the
in
meet
Saratoga.
was because of jockey error, though, on another horse.
I understand that, but the horses are still running well. I mean, he's hitting the board, and these horses have
When
been
don't
running
they?
since we got home from Saratoga. Horse ran one time on the turf. It was over a year ago, closer to 2 years ago at this point. It was going 1 mile and an eighth on the turf. She was forwardly placed, got tired, ran one time after that, and we didn't see her then for 17 months. Ran her twice on the dirt, last time against the boys, which I think was just kind of another little, let me get one more into her, better than a work.
To come back in
and run her
6
on the turf.
days?
Yeah, I have no problem with that, because to me, I think that
There's
race...
no tip on this horse. There's no story on this horse.
To me, that race resembles more of an afternoon workout than it does a race.
Does
Ran her
it
against the
bother you that
boys.
this horse has a negative turf pedigree?
Listen, I'm taking, I'm taking a little swing here.
This horse, if you do the work on her, she has a negative turf pedigree, not a positive one.
Listen, the one time she ran
Or
on
even
the
a
turf,
neutral one.
she showed a little.
Well, she's got speed. You're
Yeah.
going 9 furlongs. She didn't even make the lead.
Right.
Speed. Okay, she's 100 to 1. I hear you. I looked her up. I wish I could have made a case for her. You could. I could not. I thought Divided Sky was probably the horse to beat in this race. I want to use 3 main horses here, 4, 6, and 10. As far as Divided Sky, mile last time, probably better going a little shorter. When they tried this horse early in career, going shorter, running against significantly better horses, just seemed like a very logical horse. Kiss and Run, I thought was a little interesting. The problem with the number 4 Kiss and Run, I know it's Rob Atras, but this horse has absolutely no speed whatsoever, and that kind of is a little tricky going.
And
6
now,
furlongs.
right now she's sprinting. That was my biggest. But she's the infamous 5th pick, the one that if I didn't have the fuzzy Wakanashi girl, I would put on the board. But yeah, that's the problem. Right? She has no speed going long. What's going to happen with her sprinting
That's the
today?
concern. And the 10 Celestial Dream, who switches to Mike Maselli, who's had a good winter last year. Horses run frequently. Thought this horse a little bit interesting, more of a turf horse. I thought they were the logical horses. I went to the number 6 in here, Divided Sky, who just seemed like the most logical. Abel Castellano, I texted Javier. He was back home from the hospital by Monday. After having his surgery on his leg, and he said everything went well, so glad to hear that. And
Very
hope
good.
he has a speedy recovery and look forward to him getting back in the saddle. Hopefully he expects to get back in January.
Mid-January,
I think.
Gulfstream. Probably just a couple of months.
See what happens.
6 to 8 weeks, I
Of course,
believe, is the
Abel
official
is Javier's
prognosis.
brother, for those of you that are not aware of that. Race number 3. Race number 3. What did you do in race number 3?
I copped out with Mopolka.
Yeah, see, I hate Mopolka. We'll take a look at Mopolka's last race, where she finished 2nd. I don't like her at all in this race, but go ahead.
So this is one of these races now where you're going to see the 3-year-old fillies who have been running in the straight 3-year-old races, kind of meeting up with the older 2 life
Who are the
conditions.
older 2 lives that are any good in this race?
I'm not making the point for this race. I'm making the point in general. When you start to look at the form, I think these races are a little bit tougher. And at the very least, Mopolka broke a maiden and ran well enough last time for me against the older fillies, where you have some of the other fillies in here, namely the horse who is going to be the favorite, I think, when all is said and done, in Mirabelle May, who has never faced older. Now, you can, like you said, what older horses are in here.
Yeah, I'm looking
She's
for
just
better
been in
horses.
the restricted races, though. I think it's more of an indictment on her form than it is as to who she's
What
facing
price would
today.
Flashy Red be in this race?
Extremely short.
Extremely short. What price would Duopoly be in this?
Extremely
How about
short.
Speak to Me of Summer? In my opinion, and I normally shy away from horses like Mirabelle May at short prices. I get it. She has not done a lot of running, but she's done enough running other races to suggest she's just been overly optimistically placed. We saw John Terranova drop a horse here
last
recently.
weekend.
He got a huge figure horse she didn't like that won quite easily. I'm not inclined to want to take the Mirabelle Mays of the world, but I look at who she's running against. Mopolka's races are totally dressed up. When she won at Saratoga, they could have timed those fractions with a sundial. Last time out, same situation on an extremely speed-friendly course in an extreme speed-friendly race. I wonder, maybe she'll be in front, but how does Jose Lozcano not go with Big Gal's Gal? How does Stytown Baby and Dylan Davis not show speed in this race? Is everybody continuously going to kind of look in the jockey's room and say, oh, this horse had the lead one time? I mean, sort of like the embarrassing Daddy, she belongs to Daddy, My Heart Belongs to Daddy, how horses that are 5 lengths faster than her early in races are rating behind her in catastrophically
Perception and
paces.
intent, my
well,
friend.
Why don't
I've
you
been
ride
telling
your
you
horses to give them their best chance to win?
Listen,
that would be my suggestion.
You and I are on the same side of this, but seemingly always argue about it. There is a huge difference between how fast they really are and how their speed is used. And
well, no, there is now. There didn't used to be. There was a time when riders actually sent speed horses to the lead.
No,
when Angel Guerrero rode, riders went, speed horses went to lead.
We saw speed duels. We saw fast fractions.
And we saw speed horses hold on setting quick paces.
I don't know where it went wrong. It's almost like watching the old Back to the Future movies, where did the space-time continuum drift off to where you can't
get back to
be on the lead.
What do you have against Mirabelle and me that you've got her behind Little Red Frog?
If Little Red Frog...
Is there a story on Little Red Frog today?
No.
How on paper is she beating that horse?
I'm going to bet against the Mirabelle Maze. And yeah, some of them are going to win.
Why are you going to bet against her?
Because she runs the same race in a grade 3 that she does for 50. She runs the same race.
But she ran against much better horses for 50 than she's running against today.
I know she did.
If you want to use your older horses argument, that's fine. But you've got to find the older horses that are better, and you're not. I have no problem if you find the more experienced, better older horses. But the olders in here are tradable, who's, I guess, not impossible in here. I've got her third. I thought Strike Magic was a little bit interesting in this race. She's not a sprinter, so I don't know what they were doing running her short last time out. She just got herself sort of jammed up behind horses, but she's not a turf sprinter. And her race before that is fast enough to give her a chance. She draws inside, and I think if you want an interesting horse in here, it's the #1 Strike Magic. I almost put her on top. I think Mirabelle and me is a very, very likely winner of this race. I don't have a problem betting against her. I thought Mapolka, though, would take money, and I thought if you're trying to beat her, horses like Mapolka and Little Red Frog are not the direction that I would go. Okay. But we'll see what happens.
I'm definitely using some tradables, especially if she's anywhere near that price.
What price is she more than
15 to 1.
Yeah, no, she's not impossible in here. Now, that one race at Saratoga is dressed up by her trip that day, but still, she's not meeting any Tigers here unless Mirabelle May runs her race, in which case she's a very likely winner here. Race number 4. I'm trying to see where David went with the odds here. I want to show that our Circle of Love Gone Glimmering race first. I think they'll take a lot of money. They're not impossible, but it feels to me like when Gone Glimmering won, Rob Atras was in the midst of a streak where every horse he was running was winning. And I don't really trust Our Circle of Love. I don't know if she's much worse anymore. So I was kind of against them in here. I've got Our Circle of Love third, but I didn't think these horses were that appealing.
Yeah, and I think even this is one you would probably tend to agree. I think it's certainly Gone Glimmering a little bit better with some moisture in the track. Our Circle of Love, I don't know if I ever wanted her at 7/8, you know?
By the way, I don't agree, but okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I think it's just sort of marginal.
You know, and if Gone Glimmering sitting the perfect trip, just waiting to gobble up Our Circle of Love last time, it's kind of hard for me to really like her. You and I kind of saw this race the same. We just flip-flopped the two
Well, I
horses.
knew you'd pick Kelly Breen because you got to keep the streak alive. That's why you're all excited about Firenze Fire running.
Of course.
Kelly Breen. Did you just already pick him?
Firenze Fire? No.
I assume you've already just picked him.
It's a tough spot for him, isn't it?
There's no tough spot for Kelly Breen.
Those tough spot for Firenze Fire. I love Firenze Fire. One of my favorite horses in training. Always been a Firenze Fire fan.
Does Kelly know that you're his biggest fan, or is it just John Atfield? If John wasn't working
for being honest, it's more John.
Away? Okay, so you wouldn't be picking every one of his horses if John
it's more
stopped
John.
working for him.
I don't know. I thought this horse was. She's going to have to get a little faster. She's gonna have to and we both picked her fourth, and this is we're either gonna both look like geniuses or both share the dunce cap tomorrow. If a horse like Flash and Dynamite shows up, they're all gonna have to get faster.
Well, why don't we talk about why you picked Persisto first?
But I just think Persisto, you know, when you have a horse like Our Circle of Love in the race, and you have some other horses that could be forward, including a horse like Persisto, who, you know, her form is a little. I don't want to say sketchy, but it's a little inconsistent because you see her win on the lead, you see her win from off the pace.
It's extremely inconsistent.
Yeah, it's extremely inconsistent. So I'm just hoping that Joelle works out the right kind of trip off of a horse like Our Circle of Love, who I don't think wants any part of 7/8.
Do you think she'll be 6 to 1, Persisto?
I was stunned when I looked at the morning line. I think she'll be closer to 4.
I don't know what to do. Or I picked her second. I could have picked her last. I could have picked her a little higher. I don't know. I'm not sure she's that good. I think she's a little dressed up. I like Jen Emily. Frankly, I thought she was very logical in here. Last time out, Foxtail had the run of the race. She just sort of stalked behind her. I thought she ran fine. She's got fast enough races. She stalks to an outside post. She can stay out of the kickback. I just thought she was fairly logical in here.
What do you do with the shipper? I mean, the shipper's races are consistently faster. We're not even talking about, 1 or 2 races.
Except there's something about them that aren't faster. This horse has run in New York and not run close to the figures it was running at the time out of town. The other thing is that, for what it's worth, this trainer has not had success coming here, but he has at the board 6 and 13 times. I don't know what to do with her. I've got her 4th. I guess she could win this race. I tend to not trust her to bring her form to New York, and I kind of want to see what happens. But she is 11 for 26, and she is in good form, and you could argue she's in better form now than when she came to New York last time.
That right, and that would be a fair argument. She's kind of built on her consistency since she was last here on the circuit. That worries me a little bit, but at a short price, I kind of feel like I want to let her beat me. Like you said, the barn, almost half the runners have hit the board, like you just said, but you kind of want to see them do a little bit more damage, right? And if she's 6 to 1, it's different than if she's 3 to 1.
We'll see how this race gets bet. Race number 4, the 5th race today, going a mile 16th on the outer turf course. I got to find a way in the charts to tell you which turf course they're on. It just says turf.
Really?
Why is it so hard to say?
That's weird.
DRF charts say turf. They have to say outer and inner.
Is that just here?
I don't look at other tracks. Why don't they put OT and IT? Why is
no,
that?
I mean is at Belmont it says Widener and.
Well, sure.
I wonder if that's because the course is newer.
It's 3 years old.
I said newer.
I know horse racing has trouble evolving and has some issues at some levels, but I think that we should get the charts right. And frankly, if it was the first day, they should get it right. I think once again the players' needs have to be first and foremost, and frequently they're not. It starts at the top, though. Race number 5 at a mile and 16th on the outer turf course. You went to...
I went to Pulpus.
Okay.
Pulpus? I had a little tip on this horse.
Okay, so this is a tip.
Yeah, there's a tip. Sloppy track debut, didn't have a great start. Blinkers go on, switch to the turf. Jose Ortiz takes over for Brother Arad. It was a tip. It was a race that I had a little bit of a hard time getting a grip on, so I went to the tip.
It's a smidgen of turf pedigree. The dam won 1 of 10 races. She wasn't much horse. Did produce a turf winner, nothing too exciting. Jonathan Thomas, I read her to Jose Ortiz, obviously a horse who can win this race. As far as horses with pedigree, probably the 5 Western Advantage is the one that's the most interesting. 3 for 4 from this dam. They're very solid runners. Dam herself was a solid runner. Now, I don't understand why competitive edge to this dam. That seemed a little bit odd. You've got Sharp Strike and Empire Maker as 2 of the sires. One was Street Sense that was pretty good. There's a bit of a gap. And Street Sense not particularly strong turf sire, but I thought the competitive edge being the sire was not a great turf influence. Weird, right? In this one. I was surprised by that. A little bit of pedigree in the horse in the rail. No Kelly Breen? Oh, you got him 3rd.
Come on, man.
Well,
kidding?
Somewhere in the top 3. As far as horses that ran, I thought that the 10 Hump Day was a little bit interesting in this race. Take a look at the start of this horse's race, and Hump Day is a gray, the number 9. Breaks significantly slow and just was completely taken out of the race after this start. And I think you're going to see a better and more professional horse second time out. Watching the race, horse had a big wide trip thereafter. Horse was dominated by horses with forward position in this race, and I actually thought he ran well enough to suggest he's not bad. And I thought as a second time start with that experience, he'd be a lot better in this race.
Yeah, I wanted to use a handful of horses in here, and he's certainly one of them. I wonder how much money he's going to take. And there's another race. This is going to be a weird race to bet. I know David has the horse that I have on top, 3 to 1 morning line favorite, but I can't.
Jonathan Thomas tends to get bet when his horses are live. Tanner's Neck Lane's going to take money. We'll see if this horse effective stretching out. Michelle has not good statistics stretching out, decent ROI. This horse did break a step slowly and was very green in his debut, suggesting he could improve. I don't love these stretch outs, but I think he could run better. We'll see. I'm sure it's a tough race for David to make.
See what the blinkers and the stretch out can do, yeah.
Be some live ones and some cold ones. We'll see what happens in race number 5. Closed out the early pick 5. Late pick 5, race number 6 after a quick break.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. Anthony Stabile, Andy Serling, going over today's card, the Big A. 99 betting interests on today's 10-race card today, just under 10 horses per race. Race number 6, a 2-year-old filly version of race number 5 for the New York breds, going a mile and a 16th. And what have you done in here?
I went to Pop the Bubbly. Another tip.
Another tip.
I like the way this horse ran first. I thought this horse ran okay first time out on a surface that she was not intended for. This was a turf tip, and now I thought she ran well enough on the dirt. For me, when you are tipped on one surface and you run well on the other, I hope it's a sign of talent, and I hope the people that talk to me about these horses know what they're talking about. I think it's a good sign. Obviously, the outside draw. I'm not a huge fan of the outside draw for the young horses going along here, but she's going to be a double-digit price, 8-1 at the very least, I would think. So I will take a little bit of a swing with her.
Dam was a 4-time winner in the turf. She ran 18 times in the turf with 4 wins, 5 seconds, and a third. Top buyer was 85, $171,000. Probably the horse with the real pedigree here is the number 9 for Tom Bush, Eau Claire, that I read Ortiz is riding. And I think you have to consider that horse very dangerous in here. Dam's 4 for 4 with her production, and some decent enough horses. Pecatano, actually, one of them. But all solid runners. Point of entry as the sire seems to be solid. If Tom Bush had a better numbers with firsters, I'd be more interested in this horse. We'll take a look at a stat for Mon Cherie, the number 7. Got that one, Francisco. For what it's worth, I know the ROI is under $2, but it's well above the takeout. And just suggesting that turf stretch outs, this is something Mike Stidham has done a good job with. And this horse ran a little tiny bit first time out, was going to use this one. I think this one had a fringe player. What about Jeremiah Eaglehorse? Boom Kitty, bye-bye. Some
Kitty,
turf in there.
bye-bye.
Kitten's Joy. I'm going to use that horse as well. You got the 12 home for Christmas, despite doing absolutely no. Oh, it's Joel Rosario and Christophe Clement.
I just thought the horse maybe would appreciate a stretch out.
You don't like the outside, you took 11-12.
Yeah, I'm very well aware. I just wanted some prices. I wanted a horse that I thought would be prices in
Not
there.
much of a stretch out. This horse was horrendous first time out. Okay. I like the 6, Sassy Melissa, who comes out of that same race and actually did some running in there. And we're going to show the first beginning of the race. And also, this is a race where the rider, John Velasquez, cost this horse 4th money by not riding in the late stages. And I'm happy to discuss that with anybody that wants to discuss it. And we can watch it right here. This horse should have filled out the superfecta for what it's worth. It's just important to ride through the wire. I just thought she didn't break that sharply, kind of went up, and, got position on her own after not breaking very sharply in this race, and I like that. I think it shows that she's got more speed. She didn't sort of get hindered by that early break. She got herself very much into the race. It says rush in the chart. I didn't think that Johnny rushed her at all.
I thought she moved up on her own. Johnny's hands weren't moving.
And Johnny, Johnny's right. I'm not suggesting anyway that Johnny didn't try hard with this horse, because he absolutely did. You can see him right there, and he's trying to do is get her off the rail.
She's trying to lug in.
Yeah, a little bit. And he's also, he wanted to get outside there, and because the number 6 horse was there, he couldn't get there. And now he's going, and listen, he rode this horse very hard. I'm not suggesting in any way he didn't. But if you watch right now, he's kind of taken a hold, and he doesn't realize that horse is coming. But he should have been going forward with that horse, and he would have gotten.
She was lugging in. She was lugging in for a quarter of a mile.
I understand, but nonetheless, once he passed horse inside of her, he didn't realize somebody was coming up on her outside.
I'm not looking to defend Johnny, but you know what? With all of the other stuff going on here, I'm sure it's going through his mind. If he gives her another stick left-handed coming to the wire, people are going to start flipping out on him.
Well, even riding her. But I get it.
She was hard to stick. She was really looking to leg in for a quarter.
But he rides her back.
And that's a great sign. That is an absolute great sign. Look, she did a lot. It doesn't look like it on paper, but she did a lot of running in that race. Like you and I kind of tend to agree. I didn't see her being rushed. I thought she just kind of put herself in that position along the inside. And then she responded to him in the lane. look, she's getting in, and obviously that can be an issue, but the sign that Johnny, wants to ride a horse that looks a little tough to ride back, I think that's a big sign.
Well, the other thing is, I think if Johnny could have, if that 6 horse hadn't been out in his way when he tried to get outside, he would have got out in the clear, and it would have probably been better. I just thought she ran in there, and
better draw now. She stretches out.
has a race under belt, but
Race
she
under
was a
her belt.
supremely logical horse in this race number 6. A couple of interesting 2-year-old New York bred races back to back. Race number 7, you've got the matchup of 3 Technique and Americanus. I don't know. Money Moves top of the stretch in this race. He was finished. I mean, he might not even finish third in here. He seemed to find a way to come back. I'm not exactly sure how, but he did. And he battled back, and I mean, this race was over. Americanus kind of stopped. Maybe he needed the race off the layoff, though. He was coming off a 6-month layoff.
That's what I'm banking on. I'm banking on he needed the race coming off the left. Like you said, Money Moves looks like he's dead as disco at the quarter pole, and he comes and battles back on 3 Technique. There was a lot of weight on 3 Technique that day, right? The big A was being carried by 3 Technique.
I don't really know. It was sort of odd because he was sort of finished top of the stretch and he battled back. The race camp, a solid number, so you just think Americanus needed the race.
That's all. That's what I'm hoping. Yeah.
Got being a long way by 3 Techniques.
Yeah, he did. He did. But you know what? He also ran like a horse the last 3/16 of a mile. That needed a race. He just he was in contention off the turn. He battled with those horses for several strides, and then he got tired.
Do you think it's possible that maybe he's just not good enough?
That's a possibility, but I'm going to find out today at 7-2.
Is that really a great price?
I think in here, yeah, I do. I think it is.
Okay.
I think it is.
I don't have any knock. I mean, I would use him. I can see what you're saying. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure he's really good enough, but I don't disagree. He's obviously the third, no worse than the third. Well, I don't know. I think Famished is okay. I think Famished is going to appreciate a turn, cut back to 1 turn. So those 2-turn races, I still think he may be a little bit tough, but I think Famished will actually run pretty well here. And 15-1 versus 7-2, I think he might be a better gamble than the number 3 Americanus. We'll see. Americanus may just be a better horse. I like Tizzy the One, and we'll take a look to him losing to a horse and talking about They Knew. This was during the Rob Atras just juggernaut. When everything he ran, they were betting on them like they already ran the race. I have no idea how he was a short price in this race.
This horse looks Holden Jerome here,
and it just seems like Tizzy the One is a horse that Linda Rice has gotten into good form.
Yeah.
And I like these Linda horses when they get in good form. But I don't disagree. She's not being an easy field in here.
He's not, and he hasn't won in a while. As well as he's running, he hasn't won in over a year. And yeah, I mean, he's that was the only time he got beat going a mile. He was 3 for 3 at the distance prior to that, and they were all around 1 turn down at Laurel when he was a 2-year-old.
But this horse that ran good races out of town,
yeah,
and has got some very fast figures earlier in his career, and it just feels to me like his last race, it's not just slop, and I'm going to hope, and I don't know if this horse is going to be as short as 5-2. Maybe he will be. We'll see what happens. I'm going to bet him off of that last race.
The fact that he's on the race, too, I think is a good sign.
That's what I like. I like the fact that Linda's got this horse, ran a good race, and even though she knows it was slop, she's still moving this horse up, and I just thought that was a good sign.
You concerned a little bit that there's not a ton of speed in this race? I mean, it looked to me like with the blinkers on, stretching back out, High Velocity was going to go.
High Velocity is the speed. You didn't pick you got 4th.
And then Americanus just sits off him. And High Velocity is a horse that ran the first 2 starts of his career with blinkers. He was 2 for 2 with the blinkers. So that was back for Bob Baffert when he was out in Southern California. Third off the layoff now. He stretches back out off a couple of sprints, gets the blinkers back. He was never that fast in California as far as his figures go. But he certainly, I'm a little worried he gets in front of them here and keeps going, because it is a horse that has run well enough going long.
All right, interesting race. Race number 7, we'll see what happens. Race number 8. I didn't love race number 8. I really didn't. And I thought that a lot of players here were out badly posted. Flashing Red, I know, this is the one horse I was away that I wished I had played. I actually liked this horse and fell asleep while this race was being run. I know you liked him last time. The problem with Flashing Red is that there is, on paper at least, now on paper, well, a lot more speed. And this is a classic Last Time Was the Time, where you've got a huge price on a horse with a big pedigree, and another good job by Tom Morley claiming a horse that's supposed to have been on the turf probably his entire career. For whatever reason, they didn't run this horse in the turf. Now getting the right surface. Problem is this field is tougher, and there's a lot more speed. So I didn't like her today. I put her 3rd. I think you missed the boat last time. You pick these horses. I can never pick these horses.
I think she's run well enough from just off the pace where I'll give her one more chance. Like you said, Neil, a couple of horses in this race who we both have in the tie with different posts. I think the picks would have looked a little different.
What do you like about She Throws Heat? You like the She Be Baseline Drive, that killer from Chad Brown?
I mean, 2 turf races. There was big improvement from the first turf race in March to the race in October.
Not as much as it looks, actually.
You mentioned
that's a bad fig for a start.
You mentioned the speed in here. I don't know. Maybe she's picking them up late.
Yeah, I don't get it, but okay. I just thought Kitten by the Sea was a very logical horse that drew extremely well. I thought of the horses that were the logicals in here, she's the one that drew well. I'm not her biggest fan, but isn't she supposed to just get a good trip in this race?
She should.
What do you against her? Is there a negative story on her or something?
No, I don't have a negative story. I don't love the horses claimed from Mike Maker. I know that she ran well enough first time off the bench.
Wait a second. This horse has been in Todd Pletcher's barn for 4 races. That's a silly argument.
Why is that a silly argument?
Because she ran her best figure for Todd Pletcher and she's done nothing.
Dirt. Oh, the turf race,
no,
the first off the bench.
She's run her 2 of her 3 best figures are for Todd Pletcher. Come on, Anthony, get a better argument than that, please. You can do better than that.
I don't like the horses when they leave the barn. I know she ran.
But she's done great since she left the barn. She's arguably improved for Todd.
I mean, she's 0 for 4. I don't know whether it's with two off the board finishes.
Anthony, so it's all about where they finish now?
No, it's not all about where they finish.
So it's where they finish.
I mean, the Robin Sparkles race. Did she do a lot of running in the Robin Sparkles race? You think she did a lot of running?
She did enough running to get second. She gets a good post near. I mean, you're constantly coming up with the reason that you like a horse because you think they're going to get a good trip. You got this horse nowhere, and she figures to get as good a trip as anybody.
I don't know. The field she ran against at Gulfstream, the one race here in New York was okay. I felt like she kind of didn't do much running in the Robin Sparkles race, and she's going to be the favorite.
I think we looked at the different race. I don't know that she's going to be the favorite in this race. It's close. She's on the board the same price as your horse. Okay, we disagree.
I don't think that's going to. You think that's going to happen?
It might. I don't know. I
think you brought up a good point right away.
I tend to lean on David's morning lines.
Yeah.
They seem to be pretty accurate. They're certainly more accurate than I am. As far as Princess Fawzia, we'll look at her and Come Storming running 2-3 up at Saratoga. Princess Fawzia just has a bad draw, and Johnny's got his work cut out for him making a trip on this horse. And if this horse had drawn inside, I would love Princess Fawzia in this race. She is starting to get a habit of running second, though. And listen, I'm not a huge fan of the horse that I picked on top. But her post, when I look at the contenders and the post they drew, I just think it just gives her such a big potential advantage over these other horses in a splitting hair race.
That's fine.
I just prefer her. As far as Come Storming, I think there's a feeling that you say, oh, this horse was claimed by Mike Maker, I want to take her. I want to know what Mike Maker is going to be able to do for a horse that simply cannot finish races without the lead, and I don't see on paper how this horse can be in front.
Now, that's the problem here. The problem, and I don't know if you and I are going to agree with this, about this. I don't think her speed was utilized enough.
I don't disagree with that, but she's not fast.
It's almost a negative because A, she doesn't pass horses, and B, you kind of feel like she's not fast enough to get in front of horses like My Candy Girl, even Candy Flower to a lesser extent, even Flashing Red. I mean,
Flashing Red, Junior's got to go again.
He's got to go.
Kendrick's got to lead for position. Kitten by the Sea is a faster horse than Come Day. Right, I agree. This is one you and I agree on.
She'd be an interesting horse if there were 2 less speed horses in here, or she was better drawn.
There were horses that looked like they had a little more speed, but they didn't. I mean, listen, I'm going to use her because around here, the 10th fastest horse could be walking on the front end and wire a field.
I think that's why you also have to use Princess Fawzia, because Johnny might just leave aggressively from that.
Well, he has to. Well, I picked her second. Of course I'm going to use her.
I mean, she's, I'm
going to use all
of
1, 2, 10, 12
If she was the number
here.
5, I probably would have picked her.
I'm going to use all of 1, 2, 10, 12 here. I think any of these horses can win.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's anything illogical about any of those horses. I just think the 1 is the most likely winner of the group because she drew the best post of them. That's all.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Believe me, this is not a horse I like. You know I've never picked this horse.
Yeah,
I'm not her biggest fan. I just think that from a tactical standpoint, she figures to have to do the least amount of work to get the best trip.
Yeah.
And that I couldn't ignore it. I just couldn't get. And I suffered this race.
These are not your types.
No, I agree. Yeah. I've never been a big fan. I don't disagree that she's never done any substantial running, but she's done enough running that she's better than these horses.
The amount of speed in the draw. Really, we're saying this is like the master of the obvious. The amount of speed in the draw in this race, you feel like horses are going to run winning races that can't possibly win because of the draw.
Well,
and the amount
I
of
don't
speed in their
see
race.
how Nick Juarez isn't going with my Candy Girl. I mean, she's going. I mean,
Right.
she's just faster than these horses early.
Yep.
She's supposed to be in front by whatever she wants to be in front by. And if she's not, you have to ask yourself what they were thinking.
Right.
Why would you want to run ninth?
Here?
I mean, she may run ninth. Any horse can run ninth. But at least you want to run
Do
ninth.
it the way,
you get
right.
the best chance to win.
Yeah.
Race number 9, speaking of Masters of the Obvious, you and I have picked Duress for Tom Albertrani, who's enjoying good meat so far, and got Sadler's Joy coming back for a repeat in Saturday's Red Smith. I'll tell you something, I don't blame Kendrick for this, but man, did he move too soon. And I'm sure after the race he said to myself, I was so worried about Chad's horse that I just got in the race a little too soon. I'm not blaming Kendrick. It was pouring rain. It was a bog.
And listen,
this horse ran.
He got beat by a horse. That's okay.
I agree.
This is a nice New York bred for Christophe Clement and the late great Frank Generazio and his wife Patricia. This horse did a lot of running last time. This is a tough late pick 4, late pick 5 sequence.
It's not an easy race here.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like if you have a bankroll where you feel like you want to play every day, and listen, based on some of these pick 5 payouts, I feel like you have to try and put a ticket in every day around here. This is the lean today because I mean this horse he's just run 2 faster races.
She's run better races,
yeah.
even though it was a bog last time. I wouldn't say it matters because he ran a very firm tour for the time before that and finished second to Faya and ahead of Wild Medaglia Doro.
Tommy ran 1 2 there with Faya. Tommy's joining me Saturday morning on the Equine Forum. Actually,
he must be excited.
He's pumped. He was excited. He gave me a little. He threw a little shade at me Saturday this morning. I set the interview. What do you think of? I actually asked him. I said, "How's the big horse doing?" Good. He goes, "What do you think about little brother?" I was like, "I think would have been nice to get a text."
That would have been nice to knock it on the show at that exact. Take a look at ahead of plan, finishing ahead of Bourbon Currency. This is a real test for ahead of plan because he's not getting the lead in this race with nothing better and Noble Emotion in the race. And he's now meeting better horses. His maiden win, 2 back, was a very fast race. And there's an argument that the figure is too low at 83. I've talked about this at length with Andy Beyer. You could also an argument, though, that 7 furlongs is a little farther than his best game. He's going to have his running shoes on today to win this race, though, because there are others. You know, I think Last Opportunity is a little bit sneaky for Todd Pletcher.
Me too.
Now, maybe Todd's just saying, I don't know what to do with him. He's not good enough to win it, mile 16, so why don't I try him sprinting? And it may be just that Todd's just trying to find some place to get this horse to run. But you know what? It's still Todd Pletcher. No knock on Neil Drysdale. No knock on who his assistant was, but I'd rather take horses in Todd Pletcher's barn.
This horse has run against some stakes horses out west and Smooth Like Straight and KP All Systems Go. He comes out of the Ever Dangerous race. Ever Dangerous came back and made $150 on the Friday undercard at the Breeders' Cup.
Because 7 horses had bad trips.
Right. Now, he's going to cut back.
Todd's taking a shot. He's absolutely taking a shot, but it's still Todd Pletcher.
He's a lot like the horse earlier in the card. This horse doesn't have any speed, and now he's got to cut back from distance races.
Todd knows that.
Right, I know he does.
I think you always have to fall back on the fact that it's Todd Pletcher.
But this horse, Andy, he's going to have to.
He might just be bad, and Todd's just trying to find a home for him. Right. I don't disagree. He's not a horse I'm betting on, but he's also not a horse I'm inclined to want to leave out completely.
But don't you worry about. See, I worry he might just be A, too slow, and B, people are going to see Pletcher and Ortiz Jr. and this horse is going to be half the price it should be.
This horse would be a big price, especially multi-race bets. What about Lynchburg? Mike Trombetta, I know this horse looks slow. Embolden, who beat him, is not a bad horse. He was 3-5 for Mike Stidham. He was a pretty good 2-year-old. And Mike Trombetta has had a good record shipping these horses up, and they outrun their PPs. I don't think this horse is impossible. I know, listen, Shiraz is a better horse on paper than those 2 horses, but I don't think Shiraz is likely to win this race. I worry about the fuzzies a little bit here. Bourbon Currency cutting back, that will help him a little bit. But I worry more about the fuzzies. I feel like Duress, and to a lesser extent Ahead of Plan, will beat those horses. My worry is, will a fuzzy win?
Okay.
And I thought the fuzzies were the 6 and 7.
I thought Shiraz a little more, like you said, probably a little bit better.
Shiraz may run second in this race.
To me, the ultimate fuzzy is a horse like Last Opportunity. If he takes to the cutback and he appreciates the move to the barn. Todd's had him, I'm going to assume a month, because you see a lot of turf works. Neil Drysdale works the turf horses on the turf.
Well, Neil Drysdale's not here.
Right. The barn, the system, whatever you want to call it. And then since the last race on October 2nd, it's just been a couple of dirt work. So I'm assuming Todd's had this horse about a month. I think would be the safe
I thought
guess.
it was interesting cutting him back. Maybe it's an act of desperation. It well could be. You can't blame him. He's not going to win. I mean, where is he? You know, unless he runs in a claiming race, he can't keep competitive going long based on those races. I don't think Todd can work a miracle with this horse.
And his connections don't drop them in. They don't drop them in.
Well, I thought the connections to that horse, Team Bauer, they were only going to. I read that they were only going to run horses in the classics here.
Got Lasix too.
Or not. Oh, and the horse has Lasix. Okay, just important to note. Good to know. Love the game. It's a great game. Race number 10. Not an easy one to close the card out. My friend, you were not wrong. Spread-a-rooney in a lot of these races. Freedom Force, Johnny riding for Jeremiah.
Johnny's staying around for the last race, Andy.
Oh, I love that. I like that theory as much as he rode for his father-in-law. How broke did people go betting when poor Johnny had to ride for Leo O'Brien?
It's amazing, isn't it? It's absolutely amazing.
To me, they love that. If anybody, I wonder what the ROI is on Johnny riding, picking up mounts for his brother-in-law.
It hasn't cost me $12.
Oh, I guarantee you've got $80. You're in for a minimum of 4 figures, maybe 5 figures, betting horses like that. And you know, you look at this horse, Freedom Force. He was in just an impossible spot last time out. He had no shot. He's just an uber logical horse.
We're just talking about a cop-out pick. He was just so logical.
I don't blame you.
I had a headache after looking at it for 25 minutes. And
How do you see the pace developing, though? Doesn't it feel like with 14 horses and enough speeds, that this horse tactically, Johnny's got to make a trip for this horse? That worried me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him just letting him leave out of there and just
got to leave.
Put him where the other speed isn't. If a lot of guys go, I could see him just trying to work out a trip from just off the pace. If a lot of guys don't go, I could see him being aggressive.
What do you do with Dangerous Edge, the number 8? I found an interesting stat. I found 1 year's worth of horses off the claim on the dirt for Orlando Noda. Take a look at the stat. Surprising stat, actually. They're only 4 for 23 with a $1.12 ROI. So for all the stuff you see, their numbers right off the claim haven't been that strong. Also claimed for Maker. I only had it for 1 race. Has been gelded. I wouldn't leave this horse out. I don't know, though. He's got 1 good fig in that federal funds race where he was just sort of picking up pieces. The race fell apart.
Fed funds. Not federal funds.
I'm sorry. A little respect for
old Murray
Garrett.
And Jackson Ford.
Yeah.
That's 30 years ago, by the way. Just so you know.
I would have thought it was longer.
28, 20. My dad had Pazua, because he used to ride one of them. Chavez would ride the other. 92.
He was busy because they ran every other day.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's barely a day. We should have a race named the Federal Funds Jacksonport Handicap. Yeah, I like that. The great old pros. I wouldn't want to leave this horse out. I'm sort of in a mixed mode. I like the 12, number 1 Dillon in here. This is just a huge drop. I do not argue. The only good figure was going 5 furlongs up at Finger Lakes. I don't have any confidence. But my God, this horse has been running against horses that are in a completely different galaxy. He's running today. Goes out for Paddy Generazio. Of course, you mentioned that Frank Generazio passed away. I had fortunate enough to have Frank on At the Post a few years ago. I put the video up, actually. If you check my Twitter feed or just go to YouTube and go to put in Frank Generazio's name and get an interview with him. Great guy. Really, the two of them just been such huge parts of racing. All over,
amazing.
All over the
East Coast, yeah.
Florida, of course, starting up in
Jersey.
Well, Boston. Starting in Boston.
Had big influence in Jersey and the Mid-Atlantic as well.
Bred a lot of good horses.
Literally up in anywhere there was racing up and down the East Coast.
Concord Bound. He talks about Concord Bound a bit in the interview, but he will be missed. Frank, I feel very fortunate to have met Frank and spent a little time with him.
Never thought he was that old, right?
He didn't seem that old.
He didn't seem that
old.
But
they've been around a long time.
When I read the story, I was like, 91. You would have thought he was 15, 20 years younger.
87 when he was on my show.
Wow. Wow.
Sharp as a tack.
Crazy.
Yeah, Frank will be
I want to
missed.
use 6. I want to use 5, 6, 8, 9, 12, 13. Linda Rice has a fresh gelding in Blue City.
Good luck with that horse. Even Jerry Brown, who owns this horse, will have trouble.
This
getting
is
this
one
horse.
of the, this is one of these races where I don't want any kind. If I saw a blinker chain, if I saw anything in here, it was being used because it's just one of those
I'll
races.
use beachfront, getting back to a dry track. I'll throw that horse in.
Yeah.
Not that he's really any worse in the slop, just dropping down and too tough last time out. But he is ex-Rob. The problem with beachfront is that race 2 back, that was when Rob was winning every race. And yeah, he should have been placed first, but he was bad in there. He had a perfect trip in there. It really wasn't very good.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Oh, Principal Dancer. You're finally giving up on Jimmy Bond, so he might finally win a race. Here's Principal Dancer's last race in Saratoga. And on the surface of things, he's a big player off this race, but they're just not running back to that
If this
form.
was Saratoga, how much would you want to bet on this horse today?
I don't know about that, but
In this bunch? If
This
this was Saratoga,
This bunch?
I would be ready to roll.
a little
with,
disdainful on your part, don't you think?
I would be ready. I mean, well, it was a horse that he had run a couple of good back-to-back races on the fast ground, and I mean, coming into a race like this, I would have loved a horse like this today. But the way the barn's been going for the last 3.5 months, I've been trying to tell you.
On that note, I got to
When Ronaldo got beat with that, when Ronaldo got beat the other day, my divorce papers got drawn up. I love you guys, but I can't do it anymore.
It's never personal.
Never personal.
Head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, become a member of Naira Bets. Support racing in New York. Play through Naira Bets. Sign up for, we'll match the $200 your initial deposit. Use the promo code MATCH200 at NairaBets.com. We're offering another cross-country Big Five. This is the Sept Ultimate. Would that be right? Theoretically, the Sept Ultimate. There'll be 7 through this weekend, then 3 next week. Churchill Downs and Aqueduct.
Here's
Play
me do a
that
lot of thinking on Monday morning,
/cross country to get the PPs. And also another reason to be a member of Naira Bets is to play the contests on Saturdays. $250 buy-in, all cash prizes. You keep any and all dollars you make outside of prize money as well through your live bankroll. Register now at Naira.com/challenge. You have until 5 o'clock on Friday. Anthony, as always, it's been one of the great pleasures of my life spending the last 45 minutes with you.
Amazing. 48. Couple before.
Well, yeah, no, really closer to an hour.
50.
We were here for almost 10 minutes beforehand.
Make a great point.
You beat me to it. Okay, and America's Day at the Races will be starting in about 5 seconds upstairs. So 10 minutes, actually, 11:30. I'll be joining Acacia, Richie in the paddock for the first couple of races. The rest of the team will filter in as the day progresses.
And I'll see you tomorrow.
I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow or on America's Day at the Races as well. Johnny I, the man we all look forward to seeing 24/7. He'll be up with a reprise of Scratches and Changes in just a moment.